Hi, I'm Paul, and this is my oral presentation for the Positions and Practice module. In this presentation, I'll be talking about the development of my photographic work from early influences until now. I'll also share my initial thoughts about my research project and the motivation behind it. My interest in photography started at high school. A friend's dad had a darkroom which we were allowed to use in holidays. I was heavily influenced by the work of Heather Angel and others such as Ansel Adams, David Bailey and Patrick Litchfield, my main interest being landscape and nature photography. I wanted to be a wildlife photographer, but this was not encouraged at school, which meant I took a different path. My interest continued through university, but once out in the real world and teaching, it took a back seat. From then on, most of what I shot was as a proud dad, granddad or tourist in what David Bate describes here as the existence of the family members of the group in rituals and festivals. However, snapshots have proved to be invaluable as links to the past and in teasing out ideas for my research project. The three images show my granddad, my dad with my eldest daughter, and my eldest daughter now grown up with her eldest, our own group family ritual. At the start of lockdown, I began an open university course which reawakened my love of photography, and I developed the ability to be more self-critical and work to a brief. During this time, developing my work was limited by COVID restrictions, and, like most people, all of my work took place in the garden or on socially distanced walks. I focused on capturing the often hidden beauty that is missed when life is faster. After successfully completing the course, I was eager to continue to push myself. This led to me enrolling on the course at Falmouth, the start of the next stage of my journey. The theme of the relationship of figures in a landscape runs throughout art. Often it has been used to establish wealth or status, as in these pictures by Gainsborough. The pose of the people in the landscape, their clothes, gestures and the land itself are all used to convey a message. Liz Wells writes, "For the English aristocracy, landed gentry and 19th century industrialist, land ownership symbolised hereditary status or entrepreneurial success. As John Berger has argued, landscape paintings operated to reassure this status." The idea of a picturesque landscape led to the manipulation of the landscape itself. Here at Croom Park, Capability Brown created an imposing landscape from what was essentially a marsh, creating a landscape to enjoy and experience. Early photographers continued the themes encompassed in paintings, constructing narratives to suit their purpose. Photographers like Thomas Goodall were seeking beauty in authentic records of rural countryside. Here his painting is based on the photograph taken with Peter Henry Emerson. I think we have to question the authenticity as the photograph was carefully posed. Like Gainsborough, Goodall directed his subject. Here he poses his fiancée and her father pretending to catch fish to elicit the narrative he wanted. Even this painting by George Clawson, which shows the hardship of life on the land, was carefully constructed from photographic studies. The cultural coding seen in clothes, gestures and expressions serving to locate the status of people in the landscape and society. Unlike the narrative seen in this early work, I want to create a more naturalistic narrative, letting the relationship between my subjects and their environment dictate my approach. Through my research project, I want to create an engaging narrative around mental health and the benefits of being outdoors through formal and informal portraits, informal reportage of people and the landscapes that have released them from anxiety. In the same way that Bart saw the essence of his mother in a particular image, I believe that being outdoors can show us the person that is lost during anxiety and depression. Who we are is affected by where we are and what we are doing. This is what I want to capture in my work. There is much evidence to support the impact of the outdoors on well-being and mental health. In the October 2020 issue of the Royal Photographic Society's journal, David Clark refers to an NHS study on the benefit of being outdoors on health. The Science Advance Review, Nature and Mental Health, an Ecosystem Service Perspective, draws together a range of evidence from studies that support this view. Oasis for the Mind is a working title for my project. As seen earlier in the presentation, I grew up on allotments. As a head teacher, although I didn't realise it, being outdoors and on my allotment was my therapy, a chance to reset and realign at tricky times. Allotments are more than nature. In the same way that Capability Brown and others created landscapes for wealthy clients, plot holders create their own environment unique to them. Often they bring order, preferred colours, seating and of course the shed. Each plot reflects its owner. They are also, as seen earlier, places of ritual governed by the seasons and local and family tradition. This ritual in itself can bring a sense of safety and refuge. Taking pictures of allotments isn't new. In 2014, Rankin made a series of images of the plot holders in Nottingham. His mix of formal and informal portraiture gives a real sense of the community at the site. To me, they're striking images, and the direction of Rankin can be seen in them. The short YouTube video of the shoot shows Rankin working with the plot holders and directing them. At one point, a woman looking at a preview shot says, "It's a bit posy, isn't it? Something I'd like to try and avoid in my project." In her project Farmer Florist, Tessa Bunny has a different approach to the subjects she works with. Her portraits are often tightly cropped, often around the hands, revealing subtle details that tell us about her subjects. It's a much more intimate form of portraiture which draws the viewer into the world she is recording. Learning from Rankin and Bunny, I want to produce work which is sympathetic to the stories of my subjects, creating a response in the viewer, perhaps an acknowledgement of similar feelings. I want to avoid the level of direction seen in Rankin's work. I see my role as being an observer, capturing the authentic, not the posed, working with volunteers like Peter who are willing to talk about the benefits of their allotments. I have been thinking about my final images. My own preference for portraiture is black and white. However, colour is very important to some of my volunteers. As a result, I have been investigating the use of colour in contemporary environmental portraiture. Alex Soth has been celebrated around the world for his vivid portraits of people and places, sharing feelings of love and loneliness. He carefully constructs the narrative, locating people in their environment to create a response from the viewer. The details in his images draw you deeper into them, giving clues to the personality of his subject, and is something I'd like to include in my work. Brian Griffin is another photographer who directs his subjects carefully to achieve striking portraits. His pictures are carefully staged and show the relationship between his subject and their environment and tools. The use of colour and lighting add drama to the scene. In my work, the relationship between the plot holders within the environment they have created is an important one for me to follow. For me, as Hannah Katrina Yarosh said in her guest lecture, listening will be key. For the project to work, I need to successfully collaborate with the people I work with to construct a human connection with the viewer and develop the conversation about well-being, mental health and the outdoors.